There is nothing I love more in the month of October than reading short horror story collections. So I have put together some of my favorites to hopefully add to your spooky TBR. So if you're ready, get yourself a snack and or a warm beverage and let's get ready to talk about them. Hello. My name is Nakia. Welcome to my channel. So like I said in the intro, I am here to share with you some of my favorite short horror story collections, because if you missed my last video, I will link it here. I said that short horror story collections are some of my favorite things to read in the month of October because I like to divide my time between reading and watching horror movies, so it's just a way to get through things quicker, and I just enjoy short horror story collections in general. So yes, I am going to share with you some of the ones I have really enjoyed over the past few years. We got 5 stars, 4 stars, and some 3 stars. Nothing wrong with 3. 3 means it was enjoyable, just nothing spectacular. But you may enjoy them more than I did. I still want to share them with you nonetheless. So without further ado, let's get on into these books. Okay, first up, I have a collection of gothic tales to share with you. I believe I read the short story collection last year and it just impressed me so much. So of course I had to start the list with this one, and it is called Nocturne, a collection of dark tales by H.B. Diaz. And it is currently on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have a subscription, you can grab it for free. Now, this one is a short read. It's only 57 pages, so you can easily add this to your TBR. You're welcome. Now, this collection says it goes from the gothic to the gory, and it will keep you awake long into the witching hours of the night. Like I said, this novella is just so atmospheric and, like I said, gothic. The author is a fan of gothic novels and you can tell, you just get that feeling. Now, some of my favorites in this collection are Insomnia, Wendigo, Pocket Watch, The Ruins, Oranges, and The Echo of Eleanor May. Now, I believe from what I remember, The Echo of Eleanor May is one of my favorites in the whole collection. It was a longer story, but it was just so mysterious and haunting, and like I said, I really enjoyed it. So of course, I highly recommend this collection. I believe I gave it 5 stars, and as I said, it's short, so I'm pretty sure if you pick it up, you won't regret it. Let's move on to the next one. Next up, I have a graphic novel. Sometimes I sneak one in here and there. But this one I picked up because it is based on one of my favorite horror movies, if not my favorite horror movie. It pretty much is. So do you have a guess? If so, drop it in the comments below. But I'm speaking of Creepshow, of course. Now, in case you don't know, these are all short stories by Stephen King, and I just love them so much. Now, I will say, with this graphic novel, I didn't enjoy it as much as the movie, but I do recommend it if you enjoy graphic novels, especially ones that are more in the comic book style. This is the exact copy of the movie. It has all the same stories as in the movie, which are Father's Day, The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, Le Crate, Something to Tide You Over, and my favorite, They're Creeping Up on You. Now, just to give you a little peek into some of these stories, Father's Day is just like it says. It takes place on Father's Day, and this woman goes to visit the grave of her father, and let's just say she gets a very grim surprise. And then in my favorite story, They're Creeping Up on You, this one deals with a man who is just not a nice person, and he's also a germaphobe. And so what happens when he gets some critters that show up in his apartment that aren't supposed to be there, because like I said, he can't stand germs. This one, I love it because it bothers me so much. It deals with roaches, and I can't stand roaches, so I'd still love it though because of that fact. I like things that bother me in that kind of way. But just to give you a little sample of the artwork, here's a page from They're Creeping Up on You, a full spread for The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. In the movie, Stephen King is actually the character of Jordy Verrill, but you know, this is the illustrated version, so it's not Stephen King. So yeah, it says the artwork is done by Bernie Wrightson, and it looks great. This collection is funnier than the movie because we have the creep who pops up in between stories to give you a little bit about each story, and he makes jokes and things. So that took away a little bit for me, but I still was able to enjoy it because, like I said, I know the movie by heart, so these stories I know very well. But if you have not seen the movie, or even if you have and you want to check this out again, clearly, I highly recommend it. It is perfect for this time of year. Another short one. You're welcome again. Let's move on. Next up, I have a short story collection by an author who is featured twice on this list. I have read 3 of his short story collections. I think one of them is on my TBR for this month. Again, you can check out that video if you haven't seen it. But I'm speaking of Haunt of Southern Fried Fear by Ronald Kelly. Now, this was my second short story collection by him, and I enjoyed it. All of his short story collections are generally always 3 stars for me, and as I said before, nothing wrong with that. It is always enjoyable. I read them all. I don't skip any. So that's enough right there to keep me reading from this author, and I look forward to everything that he has coming in the future. Now, for this one, it says, pull up a tombstone and join your host, the old storyteller, as he shares 9 tales of ghostly horror to run a shiver down your spine. Some of my favorites in this collection are A Scream in the Night, Forget Me Not, Sawmill Road, and Anniversary. Like I said, these were rather enjoyable. Hey, for me to love 4 out of 9 is good, and again, I enjoyed all of them, just these 4 were my favorites. Sawmill Road, by the way, is my favorite of the whole collection. I may have to reread it this Halloween. I got a lot on my plate. This one's also short, so you're welcome. Let's move on. Now, I don't have physical copies of all of these books. They're all on my Kindle if I don't have a physical copy here, and all of these books will be linked below. Now, this next one needs no introduction really, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Those of you who have been watching me for a long time, you already knew this one was coming, because this one is it is my favorite short horror story collection, and it's because it is so nostalgic for me. This is from my childhood, so you already know I'm speaking of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz and illustrations by Stephen Gamble. Now here I have the Treasury, which is a bind-up of all 3 books, which are, of course, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Then the second one, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. Now, what Alvin Schwartz does in this book is take his skill as a folklorist and takes old folklore tales and makes them accessible for young readers and adult readers too. Couple that with, like I said, the illustrations of Stephen Gamble, and you just have perfection. If you've never read this is perfect for children, and as I said, adults too. Some of the stories are a little more silly, like I said, that children will enjoy, but I even find them funny. There are stories in here where they give you instructions for how to read them at a sleepover or in front of a campfire. There are some that are more haunting and sad, and again, as I said, some that are funnier. But again, I love them all. But in case you want to know, some of my favorites are Cold as Clay, Room for One More, The Babysitter, Alligators, and one of the funnier ones, Wait Till Martin Comes. So I can't talk about this book without showing you some of the illustrations. And it's funny, I just happen to have one here that is from The Babysitter. Here's another one. And I mean, his illustrations are just beautiful. These would make great artwork for your house. But like I said, that's why I just love having this collection. This book is usually on display because I love the cover, the artwork. So clearly I suggest this one. You can pick up the Treasury and read all 3, or start with the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. But again, lots of fun, perfect for this time of year. I always reread some stories on Halloween Day. It is tradition for me now. So let's move on. Now these next 2 are all about Halloween. So these are perfect for Halloween Day or just this month in general, because they take place on Halloween. They talk about Halloween, all the good things. So let's talk about them. First up is the second book on this list by Ronald Kelly, and it is The Halloween Store and Other Tales of All Hallows Eve. Now, as I said, all of these stories take place on Halloween, but you can see by the cover, you already get the vibes. I actually want a physical copy of this. I was trying to get one used, but they clearly raised the price for this time of year. So I'm gonna wait, but I'm gonna get me a copy because I have it on my Kindle right now. Now, this one says that you are given 7 horrific tales and 2 nostalgic essays, all handpicked for your trick-or-treat bag. Some of my favorites from this collection are The Halloween Store, which is the titular story, Clown Treats. Now, I don't have a thing with clowns, but if you do, this one is perfect for you to read. It will get you. I mean, it probably don't take much when you don't like clowns, but still I recommend this one. And lastly, my favorite of the whole collection, this is the one that the artwork is based on. It is called Pretty Little Lanterns. It is the longest story, but it is so worth it. It is haunting. It kept me riveted the whole time. Like I said, this one alone is just everything. So as I said, of course I recommend this. You can just pick out some here and there. Start with the ones that I love the most if you want. But anyway, I highly recommend it. Now this next one, some of you were probably like, what is taking her so long to talk about this book? I know it's coming. You're right. I was just saving it because I didn't want to be too predictable. But you already know another one of my favorite short horror story collections is Autumn Crow by Cameron Chaney. By this point, I'm sure you've seen this book everywhere because it is by fellow booktuber Cameron Chaney, who I will have linked below. If anyone knows Halloween and horror, it's Cameron Chaney, and you get all of that and more in this collection. Now, this is currently available on Kindle Unlimited, but I mean, you gotta have a physical copy. Just look at this artwork by Cameron Chaney. I love it. This one is another one I have up on display right now because it's Halloween time, but I just love looking at this cover. Anyway, we're here to talk about the book. Since I have it right here, I will read for you what's on the back because it's so beautifully written and tells you what you need to know. Welcome to Autumn Crow Valley, where every night is Halloween. Enjoy your stay, but first, a few words of warning. Stay out of the forest. Never venture out after dark. And don't stare into the shadows for too long. You may not like what you see. Have a pleasant visit. We hope it won't be your last. Now, my two absolute favorites from this collection are Burnt Brownies and Saving Face. I reread Burnt Brownies last year. That one is another one that is haunting and a little bit sad, but I still love it. And when I read it last year, I was like, why'd I pick this one for Halloween? No, but I still love it. And I also love I Have No Mouth and I Must Feed. This gave me the creepy mannequin story that I was looking for. I've talked about another one that I didn't enjoy. We ain't gonna go there, but this one gave me what I was looking for. And then I also loved Crypt TV. That one had some humor to it, and it also was still creepy and weird and just, anyway, I can't speak highly enough of this collection. Pick it up. You will not regret it. I don't think anyone has a bad thing to say about this book. It's just that good. Let's move on. Now, these next two I have not read yet, but they are on my TBR. I didn't get to mention them in my October TBR because I was like, I'm probably not gonna get time to get to them. I'm gonna try to squeeze in some stories here and there because I've had them next to my bed and I just keep looking over at them like, I just wanna read some. So I'll try to read some this month. I won't get through them all for sure. But I'm speaking of Twice Cursed and When Things Get Dark. Both of these are anthology collections by many different authors, so let me tell you a little bit about them in case you don't know. In Twice Cursed, this is the sequel to Cursed, which I have not read. I did not know this was a sequel, so I don't think they need to be read in order. I picked this one up because this is a new release that just came out this year, 2023. It's fresh and new. I'm surprised my library had a copy. And just like with Autumn Crow, because I have it here, I will read you a little bit of what's on the back. Take a trip to a terrifying carnival and uncover the secrets within. Solve a mysterious puzzle box and await your reward. Join a traveling circus and witness the strangest ventriloquist act you've ever seen. In this follow-up to the best-selling Cursed, an anthology, you'll unearth curses old and new. From a very different take on Snow White to a new interpretation of The Red Shoes. The best in fantasy spins straw into gold and invite you into the labyrinth. Just don't forget to leave your trail of breadcrumbs. Oh, I like that. Yes. Now, this collection features stories from some authors such as Joe Hill, Neil Gaiman, Coraline, yes, Christina Henry, and Laura Purcell, who, if you do not know, wrote a horror story that I love called The Silent Companion. So I will probably just skip to that story first, but I'm looking forward to reading at least some stories by those authors. But I also want to discover some of these authors I've never heard of to see if I find a new favorite. So yeah, I will be getting to this soon. And to round out this list, we have another one that I was able to pick up from my library. This one is a 2021 release though. It is called When Things Get Dark, Stories Inspired by Shirley Jackson, written by Ellen Datlow. Now, as I said, this is a collection of new stories inspired by Shirley Jackson. If you don't know, Shirley Jackson wrote the famous Haunting of Hill House, which I did read. I was not 100% a fan of it, but I did enjoy it. I got through it, shockingly. It was very atmospheric, I'll give it that. So I'm hoping that this newer modern take will be more enjoyable for me. Now, just a few of the stories from this collection by authors that you probably know are In the Deep Woods, The Light is Different There by Shannon McGuire, Quiet Dead Things by Cassandra Kaw, The Party by Paul Tremblay, and Refinery Road by Stephen Graham Jones. Now, me and Stephen Graham Jones did not get along so well in his book, Night of the Mannequin, so I'm looking forward to reading his short story in here to see if we can have a second chance. We shall see. So there you have them, my beautiful spooky people. I gave you a lot to hopefully add to your October TBR. And again, some books that you can read specifically on Halloween Day, Halloween night, Halloween Eve, whatever you want to do. So feel free to let me know in the comments if you plan to read any of these short story collections, or if you've read any of them and you love them, recommend them, that kind of thing. Or if you have some short horror story collections that you recommend for this time of year. I would love to know. Give me more to add to my TBR. Maybe not for this Halloween, but later. Now, as I said earlier, I will have a link to all of the books that I talked about, as well as anything else I talked about in this video. And of course, ways you can support my channel are also linked below. And I did not forget, if you want to let me know that you made it this far in the video, and or you don't have any other comment, you can leave me a candle emoji or some kind of fire emoji, something that we know will give us warmth, coziness for this spooky season. And yeah, I think that about wraps it up for this video, my beautiful spooky people. So until next time, snuggle up in your hideaway with a good spooky book. Unplug as much as possible, except for some horror movies right now. Be kind to all kind, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.